Hello, welcome to another episode of Namtaro Talks. Today's episode will be a little bit more lighthearted. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to exactly title the episode, but let's just call it The Cat and the Rabbit. Yes, so based on the title, you can kind of already determine the tone of the episode. Well, I'll preface it pretty simply. I will of course, be talking about the two pets that are currently living in our home. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that we have Gemini, Gem the kitty cat, or we just call her Gem. But honestly, we don't really use her name. We just say, hey you, or hey cat, get over here, you know. But Mana, the bunny rabbit, we use her name more often. Yeah, I know, I'm a grown man. I'm talking about these animals, talking about my pets. But the way I figured it is, I have the time and energy and capacity to do it now. So, might as well. Yeah, it's one of the many topics that I have in mind. Well, how do I like rabbits? Well, honestly, I don't know where the heck that started from. I think one factor that kind of played into it was, yeah, on my previous girlfriend, she had a rabbit, and when she introduced me to it, well, she's like, "Oh, it's in the cage." Oh, no, well, it turns out it was in the backyard, but then we couldn't find it in the backyard. Then we finally found the rabbit, and then it was hiding, and I had to like chase it and then physically pick it up. So that was my first main interaction with a rabbit, really. Well, one that is notable, anyways, the experience that influenced my interest in rabbits was when a friend of mine in college, he told me to rabbit sit for him. I don't know why. I think he was out of town going somewhere, and he had this like cute little dwarf rabbit, which is even smaller than the average rabbit. And though I kept the rabbit in the cage and fed him accordingly, sometimes I let that rabbit out. And one thing I liked was that he would literally run circles around me, you know, and like make little grunting rabbit sounds. Yeah, rabbits they do make a little bit of noise, believe it or not. They don't make wails or large sounds like a dog or a cat, but most certain animals gotta vocalize somehow, right, to express themselves. Yeah, but when a rabbit is grunting, they're supposedly happy. So I must have done something right. Yeah, but after those two incidents, I didn't really have any major rabbit events, quote unquote, for a while. Though, of course, whenever I see a rabbit in the wild, whether it's like at the park or even in my parents' backyard, believe it or not, yeah, I would get excited and take out the camera and try to record it. But oh wow, the rabbits out in the wild, they are very fast. Yeah, like you blink, you can miss it pretty much. It's like you gotta capture and make the most of that experience. And a lot of them, the color of their fur blends in really well. So you gotta look really closely to see some black eyes or see some ears. But other than that, they blend in with the dry grass. Yeah, and I'm sure I mentioned it in another episode, but I was in grad school for a while, and I'll be honest, grad school sucks. It is not fun. It was a lot of classes and studying and drudgery, but one solace I had during my breaks or distractions was look at pictures of rabbits. There's just something appealing and innocent and fun to me with them, you know? And during grad school, I had a goal. I was like, oh my God, when I'm done with this, when I pass my boards to take my test, and when I'm done with all this misery and drudgery, I'm gonna get a rabbit. I even joked that, yeah, right the minute after I leave from taking the boards test, I'll go straight to the pet shop and get a rabbit on that day. Of course, that did not happen. It took a few more months in between for me to get settled and established. And yeah, I was living with my parents at the time. So, of course, I had to get their approval to get a rabbit in the home. Of course, my mom liked it, but my dad was very wary about it, and he was against it at first. And yeah, that was a point of contention. I remember the day I determined to go to the rabbit adoption service and pick up the rabbit. I was arguing with my dad. His words were like, "I do not want a rabbit running around our house." So I left the home all angry and went longboarding, got some breakfast, then went to the adoption center and went to an event hosted by a rabbit rescue organization The local one was called Rabbit Haven, where these people, they don't really keep rabbits, but they foster rabbits. Like they temporarily house them, and they put the rabbits on a not necessarily a display, but just put them out there in like cages and rows and play areas to see like who might be interested, like who's like serious about getting a rabbit. And they had their own website, and of course I looked through that website and tried to determine what kind of rabbit I want. And that website had a bunch of information about rabbits, about their nature, about their illnesses, about what to feed them, and how to best take care of them. Yeah, it was very informative. They really guide you through the process because they don't want to just give random people rabbits. They were looking for serious people who are willing to provide a warm and nurturing home for the rabbits they've been fostering. Actually, I forgot to mention, 2 weeks before I officially adopted a rabbit, I went to one of those rabbit adoption exhibitions again with my then girlfriend, now wife, and we looked at all the rabbits. We saw a couple rabbits that we liked, and yeah, they had you fill out an application for the rabbit. But unfortunately, because I was a bit indecisive and wishy-washy, the rabbit I wanted, it got picked already. But I wasn't too like, I don't know, heartbroken about it, because I was just happy to have a rabbit. Like in Pokemon, when Ashley, he just wants a Pokemon. He wasn't like focused on getting Charmander or Bulbasaur. He was just happy to get Pikachu. So on that day, I just wanted a rabbit just to demonstrate to them that how serious I was about getting a rabbit. But so I filled out an application, and I guess I listed like the 3 rabbits I was interested in, and the lady at the Rabbit Haven, she says, "Oh, that rabbit you were interested in, the person who applied for it, their application, it fell through, or they were not interested anymore." So like she emailed me, and it was like a stroke of luck. So the following 2 weeks, that rabbit I initially wanted, she was available. I was serious about it, so I showed up. I said, "This is the rabbit I wanted. This is the rabbit I talked to you about." I bought the cage, bought the fence, bought the hay, bought a few toys, bought the bowls, and you gotta pay a little adoption fee too. But it's very affordable. Yeah, and it's really to contribute to the Rabbit Haven, the rabbit rescue organization, if anything. Yeah, it's all volunteers because they really believe in their cause, because it's better to adopt a rabbit from these agencies rather than buy one from the pet shop, because the ones at the pet shop, it's like more generalized for pets, so they don't really as rabbit focused. And the Rabbit Haven, they cleared up many misconceptions about rabbits. Yeah, some people think, oh, rabbits love fruit and carrots. Just all you gotta feed them. No, that's not the case. You gotta feed them a lot of hay, a lot of dry grass. That's apparently 80% of their diet. And some people think rabbits are meant to be kept in cages, like at the fair, like gerbils and hamsters. But no, like rabbits are meant to be free and run around a little bit. That's how they live longer. That's how they're healthier and happier. So I adopted the rabbit, named her Mana, loaded her cage and all her stuff in the car, drove home, set up a little area for her in the corner of the living room. And of course, the rest of the family came out and got to meet her. And eventually, even my dad warmed up to her. Yeah, we were very conservative to begin with. We would keep her in the enclosed cage area the entire day and only let her out for a little bit at a time when we're home. And at first, just let her out right outside of the cage area where the carpet is, then run back in. And afterwards, we expanded it a little bit, let her out into the living room, then run back in. And everything was like a learning process. We learned which areas to block off, what her boundaries were. Eventually, we let her go into this room and then that room and figure out her habits. Like, what does she like to climb on top of, or what can she get under, and what situations do we want to avoid, and where would it be difficult to get her out. So even my parents adapted. They made little cardboard barriers and set it up around the electronics in the living room. because we found out that rabbits like to chew wires, and she chewed a couple wires for like the karaoke machine. And they are capable of the most random things. I remember one time I was out of town, and then my parents, they were freaking out because the rabbit just randomly stretched out and then tipped over like to the side and fell down. Well, apparently that's called a flop, and that just means that the rabbit is very relaxed, very happy, and very comfortable. But we did not know that at the time. We thought something was wrong with the rabbit, and then we realized how high rabbits can jump. So at first, I thought the cage area, it was high enough, but we didn't put a roof on top. So eventually, the rabbit easily hopped out of the cage. So we had to take another piece of cloth and put it on top so the rabbit couldn't jump out. And of course, we sometimes wanted to confine her to the living room, so we had to do makeshift barriers to prevent her from leaving the living room. But then she would always find a way. So we had to make the barriers, I don't know, more detracting or higher for her. But rabbits or pets or certain animals, like all they had to do is just be themselves, just them doing their mannerisms, and you're like, oh, that's so cute. But you're like, that's no big deal. I'm just like doing what I do. I'm just lying here. I'm just nibbling this or that. I'm just chilling. And of course, one rabbit habit that my mom especially likes, it's called the binky, where the rabbit, they do kind of a zoomy, right? Like they run around randomly really fast, but they do a quick jumping kickflip in the air. Now, that's when they're really happy. But then again, it's pretty rare, and it's more common when the rabbit is younger. Yeah, unfortunately, mine has not doing binkies as much as often. But that's for only when they're really excited and ecstatic, I guess right now she's reached a stage where it's like a homeostasis, where she just chill and content with the daily routine of her everyday life and environment. And one perk about rabbits and our cat and pets in general, they're very photogenic. Like you can just take pictures of them in any pose or at any angle or at any location in the home. Though unfortunately, I can tell when it's been like a slow month or a period of time where I'm not going out or doing much stuff when there's a lot of pictures of the pets. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, they're cool pictures, but I have literally hundreds of pictures of the rabbit and the cat right now. And one good thing about the rabbit is that she is such a good icebreaker, and she's very good at welcoming guests. Yeah, she met like so many people from so many social circles and so many different relationships to me. She met cousins, niece, nephews, mom's side, dad's side, the family, people who live nearby, people visiting from far away, high school friends, undergrad friends, grad school friends, neighbors. It's like she enjoys being the center of attention. Like everyone wants to feed the rabbit a little bit. Everyone wants to pet the rabbit a little bit. Yeah, when you pet her, she's really soft. Like I don't know many things that are softer than a rabbit. And rabbits, like most other pets and animals, they are very influenced by food. Yeah, of course, they like it when there's fresh hay. So the thing about the hay is that it's much easier to buy it in bulk rather than like little 10, 20 pound bags. It's easier to buy it in a 40 or 50 pound box. So you can just like grab a handful and like shift it over, feed the rabbit every now and then. But then you become to learn about her preferences. Like she likes fresh hay and more not really the stems. She likes the leaves and the ends of the hay. Yeah, the stems, like if there's hay she does not like, she would just literally leave it there, and even sometimes go to the bathroom on it, which is undesired, of course. But then the good thing about them is that they have a litter box similar to a cat, so you could also like put the hay and like the litter in the same box, so they go to the bathroom where they eat. So it's pretty much like you just dump one box every single time. It's pretty convenient that way. And of course, rabbits are herbivores, so you gotta give her vegetables. But the easiest form of vegetables for her are the romaine lettuce, and I buy it like at Costco or at Trader Joe's. Like those Trader Joe's, you can get like 3 heads for $2, or Costco 6 heads for I think $5, $4 or $5. Yeah, and it takes a while for them to go through it, and they just like munching on it every single day. Of course, there are other leafy vegetables that rabbits like also, like bok choy or kale. Apparently mint, though I haven't fed her that as much. And of course, they love fruit. For them, fruit and carrots are like candy, but you can't give them too much of a good thing. Yeah, so whenever I'm cutting fruit or eating fruit, sometimes like I'll ever nibble the core a little bit, leave a seed here or there. Though it was early on and we did not really figure it out yet. We gotta ration how much fruits and sweets she gets. So I believe I was out of town that one Thanksgiving, but the family hosted Thanksgiving at our home, and everyone was feeding the rabbit carrots. Like she got like a baby carrot from each person, but there was like about 10 or 12 people. So she got like, it's like the equivalent of eating like 12 cupcakes or something, you know? And another time, well, sometimes we have one giant carrot and we let her nibble it a little bit at a time and just save some more for later. But one time my parents were letting her nibble it, and I guess they were tired, so they fell asleep and took a nap while the carrot was still there. So she ended up eating half of the carrot. Yeah, I can go into so many different rabbit stories. There was the one time where she went behind the TV, and of course it's very like crowded back there, lots of wires. It's very difficult to nudge her to come back out. So my brother, he went behind the TV, and he literally just picked her up and threw her out. And I was super pissed at him when he did that. But yeah, the thing about rabbits, they are very fragile, and they can break bones easily. But sometimes they are more durable than you would expect, but it's not a chance that you would want to take. And the thing about rabbits is that they find their spots. They find a designated area. They have at least 3 or 4 go-tos every day. And believe it or not, even changes during the different seasons. During the summer, they like certain cooler areas, like the cooler floor, or like the living room had a fireplace and the bricks were cool, and the rabbit would lay there for designated periods of time. And of course, they are shy by nature. They are prey animals, so they like to hide. They like to be under things. Though there was one time when the rabbit, she went under my uncle's futon, and she was not supposed to be there, but I had to go to work, so I spent like the last 10 minutes before the absolute time where I had to leave the house just trying to get the rabbit out. And I had no choice. I had to give up. I had to leave her under the futon. And another time where it was much later, when we trusted her and give her more free reign of my parents' house, we couldn't find her for about 2 or 3 hours. Like we looked every single nook and cranny of the house, or that we could think of, and we were like, oh my god, did we lose a rabbit? Like, what happened to her? And it turns out she was in my dad's closet. That was the least expected area that we could have found her in. But with the nature of pet sitting, yeah, especially when you go on trips and you're gonna find people to pet sit for you. And eventually I moved out of the home, but I thought my parents, they liked the rabbit and it means more to them, so I had her stay at my parents' at first. But it turns out they're the ones who are doing a bit more traveling and going out of town more. So at that point, I was like, oh, okay, we'll take the rabbit up to our home. And our home, it has 2 floors, and we have an extra room. So we're like, what if we made that room the rabbit's room? So I laid out like blue tarp along the carpet of that room and just put all of her equipment in there. And that was like the rabbit's spot. But unfortunately, the thing is, we're like downstairs most of the time, and though I thought that the rabbit would like her own personal space up there, she had a tendency to come downstairs more often. And unfortunately, there was 2 incidences where she had gastrointestinal stasis or GI stasis. It is a common condition in rabbits where they don't really eat because their digestive system is not functioning properly, is not moving the food along as much, and it usually happens when a rabbit is stressed. And those are emergency situations, and the rabbit needs to be taken to a ER vet as soon as possible, because they help coax the rabbit to eat more, and they provide like a liquid form of rabbit food for them to consume. Not to mention they prescribe the medicine to help the digestive system to get moving again. Though feeding the rabbit that medicine, that's another pain in the butt because you gotta feed it through the mouth in the syringe. But who likes to take medicine, you know? I had to like hold her down or corral her in the bathroom in order to feed her the medicine. But after a while, I kind of tricked her by putting the medicine onto her treats. So as she eats the treats, she consumes the medicine. And before we knew it, she was back to normal. But after 2 episodes of GI stasis, I was like, okay, something needs to change. We can't just like have her upstairs all the time because I think she gets lonely. And I think it all happened when there was this one episode where there was a huge rainstorm and we were all downstairs, but she was upstairs by herself in the dark. And when rabbits are distressed, they do this giant thumping sound with their feet. And mind you, we were downstairs and we heard the noise and we were not sure, oh my God, what's going on outside? Is there someone in the house? But the rabbit was upstairs. That's how loud the thumping sound is. It's like you have like a second floor neighbor doing something and you're on the bottom floor. So we decided to eventually bring her downstairs. But the thing is, the cat is downstairs. Yes, I know I've gotten this long into the episode to finally talk about the cat. Well, she's really my wife's cat. Yeah, my wife initially had 2 cats, but one was causing too much mischief and property damage. So unfortunately, she had to give that one away. So she's down to 1 cat, which is named Gem, which you've seen in some of the videos. But yeah, so we had to have Gem and Mana get introduced to each other. The way I did it was that, yeah, there's at least a video or 2 of this. So Mana's in a cage and she's looking out of the cage and Gem's looking into the cage. And then we slowly open the cage and we had to really monitor the interaction because at first you don't know. It could be unpredictable. Like cats are predators, rabbits are prey. Like cats don't eat rabbits, but you want it to be safe, you know, at least a mutual, commensal relationship. But the funny thing is, I think that the cat was scared of the rabbit. Like she was always like keeping her distance, hiding in a corner, staring from afar, and the rabbit's just doing her thing, exploring parts of the downstairs and looking for treats as usual. And I come to appreciate the cat. I mean, you've seen the videos. It is a pretty big cat, pretty chubby cat. I'm guessing about 15 pounds. She's pretty much a rectangle whenever she lays down. But she has a lot of idiosyncrasies that grows onto you. Like one of my wife's friends calls it shrimping, when she just lays on the ground and just like twists back and forth, and she's in different positions and contorted and cleaning herself and climbing the cat tree and lounging and loafing. Then again, the rabbit does similar things too. Like I say, cats and rabbits are pretty similar regarding demeanor, and they both like boxes. And for the most part, the 2 get along. I mean, they're not the best of friends. They don't like cuddle up with each other. I could only dream of that. But sometimes like they hang out in their own corners. Sometimes they're within proximity of each other. Honestly, the rabbit's oblivious to the cat sometimes. But the cat, sometimes she's suspicious. Sometimes she's like, okay, as long as the rabbit is not in my space, I'm good. And they do share the same space. I mean, there's like a little toy tunnel that both of them take turns going into. Not to mention, they share the couch every now and then, though different areas of the couch. And the funny thing is, sometimes the rabbit uses the cat tree. Well, so usually she's like on the bottom floor of the cat tree, but we caught her on like the 2nd or 3rd floor of the cat tree somehow. But she's never been to the very top. Thank goodness, because I don't know how she'll ever get back down. Yeah, so based on how much I talked about each of the pets, yeah, it's kind of obvious that I'm a bit more rabbit biased because I know rabbits and Mana was my rabbit at first. But now that we live together, it's our rabbit and our cat, you know? It's like a little family for now anyways. And we have a general idea of both the cat and the rabbit's lifespan and where each of them are at the current moment and how long they overlap, and we take that into account. And well, the kid will eventually get to appreciate and experience both of them for at least a period of his life, though I don't know how much he will remember it. I hope he does. There'll be pictures with the 3 of them, or at least 2 at a time at least. Well, anyways, let's go into the daily routine right now. So Yeah, I get up, I do my exercises upstairs, but then I make my way downstairs, and we have two gates at our stairs. Like one gate upstairs, that's like the second barrier, and one gate downstairs, which is the first barrier. But the downstairs gate, we gotta put extra plastic spikes. Well, spikes at the bottom of the gate so the rabbit can't like nudge through, and spikes at the top of the gate so the cat can't jump over. But then like the rabbit hears me coming downstairs, so she meets me at the stairs because she knows it's about breakfast time, like food's coming. So I go downstairs, I rip up some leaves of lettuce, I grab a handful of pellets, and I feed the rabbit. And of course, the rabbit loves the pellets. She just like shoves her face right into it, and then she nibbles like the lettuce afterwards. And you gotta make sure that litter box is relatively clean, and there's enough hay, there's enough water. The cat typically in the morning or dining table, all the chairs are pushed in, and there's a tablecloth, and the cat is hiding, sitting on one of the chairs, hiding under the tablecloth. Yeah, so I'm doing my exercises, and then I'm doing the indoor cycling machine. Surprisingly, that is when the cat comes out, and you know how like, there's couches, and but there's this like little island thing for the couch where you can like use as a storage unit. Yeah, and the cat, she lies on her side and it begins scratching that island couch thing. And I mean, it's inevitable. There's like scratch marks over it, and I can do little calls and shouts at her to detract her from doing that. And our cat, she loves the laser, so I can distract her with that and get her like running around. But there's only so much you can do, and I gotta do this pretty much every morning when I do the exercises. But the animals are chilling as I finish my exercise, eat my breakfast, get dressed, and head out to work. Well, the nature of my job is that sometimes I come home earlier than expected, but then I still have some paperwork to do afterwards. And that's when I get a glimpse of what the pets do in the afternoon. And they are literally just like lounging and being lazy, sometimes being in a designated spot for 3 to 4 hours at a time. I know that's usually when they take a nap or something, but I'm just amazed at their capacity to be so sedentary, you know? Yeah, and because of the current nature of my job, I'm at the home more than my wife is. So whenever my wife, she sees, oh, look at the rabbit, she's doing that, or she's lounging, or she's laying at that location, or doing that pose, I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but unfortunately, I've seen that before. I see it more often. But we go through the day, work's done, I finish the paperwork, wife comes home, we prepare dinner, and then the cat lets us know that it's her dinner time too. That's when she really starts to meow throughout our dinner prep. So my wife has to interrupt it and do the cat's dinner prep. But it's just really just like pouring a can of like tuna or chicken into her bowl. And sometimes the cat finishes the food too fast and meows even more, demanding more food. I mean, I don't really want a Garfield situation over here, but my wife's saying is the cat just wants attention. But I'm like, oh, I'm getting mixed messages because sometimes she's meowing, she wants attention, but then we want to provide that attention, and then she's standoffish. And the cat, she has a gender bias. She likes females more than males, and I barely can pet the cat. And of course, the cat hisses at my wife, well, my father-in-law, and my dad, but she's cool with our moms. But one fun thing I do with the cat every now and then is do a little staring contest with her, just eye contact. And she is very attentive. Like sometimes you just wave your hands and like the eyes follow wherever the hand goes. Before, when I was at internships and at work, and the coworkers who had pets would always talk about their pets, and I mean, I wasn't very annoyed or anything. I just wondering why. But now that we have pets, and I find myself talking about them a lot, I kind of know why. They are a point of conversation. They provide interesting stories, and it's like something that family and friends can ask. Oh, how's your pet doing? How's the cat? How's the rabbit? What did she do today? What did she do this time? And nothing against dogs. I mean, I do like dogs. But I like other people's dogs. You know, I don't think we would ever have a dog. Well, not a dog right now with our current pet dynamic, but we're just not dog people. Like our lifestyle, or personalities, or demeanor. Believe it or not, a rabbit, we already know, is pretty low maintenance. I mean, in my opinion, anyways, as compared to a dog. It's like most of the time they do their own thing and they don't ask for much. Yeah, cats and rabbits, that is. But regardless, I'm glad that we have them. I'm very thankful for them. They liven up the house. They make it feel more like a home. They make things more interesting. They kind of give you something to want to come home to. And I know the same thing can be said for something else in the future, but right now we got the cat and the rabbit. One more thing I would like to mention is that if you are considering getting a pet, I highly recommend getting a rabbit because not many people know much about them and they're easy to learn about. In my opinion, they're very manageable, easy to take care of. There's just a few rules to follow, but if your home, your environment, your capacity, your personality can handle it, they are affordable and I wouldn't say low maintenance. Of course, everything takes some maintenance, but they're very manageable and they are a body language animal and but they will bring a joy. Just remember that they are a commitment. They are not meant to be kept in the cage, though some people do that, and if their home requires for that, I totally understand. And some people, they are raised to believe and only seen rabbits in the cage. All right, but I highly recommend that you try to engage in a free roaming the rabbit. Though of course, protect your wires and just be prepared. There will be a fair amount of rabbit hair everywhere. So make sure you have a good vacuum and lint rollers. Yeah, those are a godsend and will come in very handy. And who knows, they might even encourage you to eat more vegetables. Okay, the episode's over half an hour again, but I feel kind of bad because I dedicated about 2/3 or 3/4 of it talking about the rabbit as compared to the cat. But regardless, that's my take on our pets at the current moment. And once again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.